industry in that most of the guidelines for the certification schemes in Australia were based on international research outcomes. And we therefore applied to the Australian Research Council to partner with industry under their Industrial Transformational Research Program scheme to provide enhanced capacity and skills to significantly advance the safety of fruit and vegetables. There were two objectives. The first one was to provide practical solutions to minimise food safety risks, and the second was, as Robert says, to educate a new generation of food safety researchers who could address future research problems. And by working with industry, it would mean that our research was relevant to them and the students would get a real-world perspective on how their solutions might fit into industry. Now, the centre has a number of people. It's quite large. It began in 2017 and is running until February next year. And as we've already said, there were a significant number of industry partners and partner organisations across 3 countries, in Australia, the United States and also New Zealand. Now, the current director is Professor Dee Carter, and she is ably supported with the Deputy Director, Associate Professor Tina Bell. Now, we have 10 other chief investigators, all helping to supervise the students and conduct research in the projects. And we also have 5 postdoctoral fellows and 8 PhD candidates. So you can see we're quite a large cohort of people. Now, none of this would have been possible without the support of partner organisations who've generously contributed funds, time, expertise, and of course facilities to enable these research projects to proceed. And apart from our Australian research partners, who we of course value very much, we also have international research partners such as the University of Arizona, the University of California, Davis, the New Zealand Apple and Pear Group in New Zealand, and of course the New Zealand Institute for Plant and Food Research. And one of the major partners that we have overseas is the Centre for Produce Safety, which has provided a lot of resources and introduction to food safety researchers in the United States. The projects were identified through a review commissioned by the Fresh Produce Safety Centre, and it's called Understanding the Gaps, and you'll find that review on their website. There were 3 themes under which we ran these projects, and the first one was looking at the on-farm environment. This included looking at composts and organic amendments, looking at the safety of agricultural water, looking at climate change and how that impacted on food safety risks, and also looking at use of sanitisers on farm, and that included looking at new technologies such as electrolysed water. The other 2 themes were around post-harvest, looking at interactions of fungicides and sanitisers, what happened to pathogens during the storage and transport part of the supply chain, and looking specifically at 2 industries, apples and leafy greens, and conducting risk assessments in those particular areas. The indicator organisms of rapid diagnostics was not undertaken in this particular project because the student left her PhD program. But that has been addressed in the Fresh Produce Safety Centre innovations themes. Now, funding for this centre was provided by the ARC and also the generous in-kind and cash support from industry and the University of Sydney. However, coming together as a cohort of scientists and students, we were able to leverage the fact that we were a recognisable centre focusing on food safety, and it gave us the ability to seek other funds. So we've been able to garner funds from the Chief Scientist of New South Wales, from various bequests, the Nancy Roma Paish Visiting Professorship bequest, the Mari Bashir Institute for Infectious Diseases here at the University of Sydney, Horticulture Innovation, which is a great funder of horticultural research right across Australia, ARC Linkage, and we've also been able to access funds from the Innovation Connections, where we've partnered with some of our industry partners to conduct extra research. Each year we have conducted conferences in conjunction with the Fresh Produce Safety Centre, and we've had various themes over the last 3 years. The first one was looking at promoting a culture of food safety in businesses and encourage everyone from the CEO down to be alert to food safety risks and to act if something does not seem right. Last year, we actually focused on environmental change and what does climate change mean for food safety risk for industry. Those conferences attracted somewhere around 180 participants, and it was a great forum to showcase some of the research that came out of our ARC Centre. Now, we've really benefited from the generous input from international expertise in food safety, whether it be presentations at conferences or them being actively involved in project management, and we thank them all. Channa, who's going to speak next after me, and Peter Nell were both visiting professors who stayed in Australia for a couple of months. Trevor, Keith and Suresh all came to present at our conferences and spent a shorter time with us. Bonnie Fernandez at the bottom left there is from the Centre for Produce Safety in the US, and they have been extremely supportive through their research and have provided a wealth of resources for us to tap into. Michelle J. Russell was due to visit earlier this year but was put on hold due to COVID. However, we have had very fruitful collaborations over Zoom over this year, and we have continued to work together. We also thank Laura and Nigel for also being participants in our food safety conferences. Now, the centre launch was held earlier last year, and the centre was opened by Julian Lisa, the member for Barara. We also had representatives from the ARC, Dr. Robert Munn, and also our Vice-Chancellor from the University of Sydney. It was an opportunity for keynote speakers such as Professor Martin Cole, who I'm sure you all know, who was at CSIRO at that stage and is now at the University of Adelaide, and also Mariana Prika from FIEL to also speak at the conference. It was a great day and it was a great opportunity to showcase the achievements that we'd had to date at that launch. A highlight of our centre has been our centre annual research partner days. During the years, we have had quarterly updates on each research project with our industry partners, and these have been on Zoom and they've been very productive. But each year we also met face-to-face to present and discuss findings and to plan for next steps in our research. These were fantastic opportunities for us to work really closely with our partners and to understand their priorities. We've also been very active in visiting industry. We've been to New Zealand, we've been to the United States, we've been to visit our partners here in Australia, and you can see that it's been very productive to have discussions actually in the facilities where the partners are working. Channa on the bottom right-hand side was down there at Werribee with our partner Fresh Select in Victoria. And you can see there that Peter Nell helped with the advancement of promoting a culture of food safety through the Fresh Care program. Now, in addition to conducting research, we actually have to have some hard outputs from our research activities, and we've been able to produce over 100 refereed articles into the literature. We've also been active in the media and also had many invited talks. We've also, in addition to our 8 PhD students, had 35 honours and master's student completions. Each year we would have about 10 students join us, and they would join in on some of the projects that were being implemented by our PhD students. And they've really been a fantastic cohort to work with, very ably supervised by our CIs and also our postdocs. You can see here just 3 examples of some of our student publications which are starting to come out now, and we're very pleased to see these come to fruition. We've also, because we've been a cohort that's had some visibility, we've also been able to respond to issues in the community, such as needles in strawberries and also COVID. Kim was very active in addressing a lot of the media comments around strawberries, needles in strawberries. She was kept very busy with lots of interviews. And with Haria Boskert was also very active addressing some of the myths with COVID-19. For example, some of the experts were wanting to wash fruit and vegetables with soapy water, but Haria was very busy dispelling that myth. Our PhD students and also postdoc students have been at the core of our research, and we thank them very much for their dedication and willingness to undertake these projects in food safety. Their experiences have been really diverse and included a lot of field and laboratory work, as well as learning how to present their findings to both scientific and industry partners. It's been an absolute delight to work with them, and I'm sure you will find their presentations in the next few sessions very interesting. And finally, I guess one of the highlights that's been really important for all of us is to move into new research laboratories provided by the Life and Environmental Sciences. We now have state-of-the-art research facilities, and we feel thoroughly spoilt to have a great working environment. And it's made a huge difference to us being together and working under such great conditions. So it really just remains to say that we've had a wonderful 4 years working together with industry, and we do thank our industry partners, postdocs, students, and all the chief investigators, and of course the people at the ARC who've been very supportive. The University of Sydney and our other funders have also been fantastic contributors to this project. It's really been a privilege to be part of this centre. So thank you very much, and I'll now move on to the next session.